Good evening. My name is Brian Grzymkowski. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Graduate Admissions here at William Paterson University. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us today for our webinar about our Master of Arts in History. Joined here by the Program Director, Dewar MacLeod, is going to go through and talk at length about his program. But this is a relatively new format for us to be able to offer these types of webinars. And certainly it's our hope that being able to listen to this presentation either at your office, at your couch, from the comfort of wherever you find yourself is a great way to learn more about our graduate programs here at William Paterson University, to learn more about our institution. And certainly it's our hope that if it works with your schedule, if you find yourself with the opportunity, that you'll consider coming and visiting the campus. Naturally, this is meant to be a nice little way to learn more, and then we'd love to follow up and either get the chance to meet you ourselves here in the Graduate Admissions Office, or certainly for Dewar, I'm sure he'd be happy to have the opportunity to speak with you further about his program and about your interest in his program. So just a couple of real quick things before we jump in and I let him take it away. First, I want to make sure you know, I know sometimes there's the temptation to grab a pen, jot down a bunch of notes, make sure you don't miss anything as we go through the presentation, but wanted to make you aware that right under the Handouts tab there on the GoToWebinar screen, you have the opportunity to download this PowerPoint presentation in its entirety. And obviously there's contact information, there's program requirements and other things that might be helpful for you to be able to refer back to later. And certainly if you have a professional colleague or someone else that you think might benefit from the opportunity to see this presentation, you have the opportunity to download it, and then also we'll be sharing this with you further down the line when we make this available on our YouTube channel as well. So certainly keep that in mind. Keep yourself hands-free. Just sit back, enjoy the presentation, and learn a little bit more about our program. So with that being said, the last thing I'll let you know is we are going to have a question and answer session at the end of this presentation. So I would ask you to save any questions that you might have. You'll be able to type them right into the chat box there, and then we'll go through and make sure there's plenty of time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions that you might have. So again, just want to thank you all from the Graduate Admissions Office here. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to Dewar. Take it away.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Dewar MacLeod. I'm the Graduate Director at William Paterson University, Department of History, and I'm just going to take you through the sort of basic outlines of the program and then open it up for questions. It shouldn't take too long, but I want to give you a nice little overview. So to start, our admissions requirements, we expect a 3.0 in your undergrad transcripts, and you'll need 2 recommendation letters, a writing sample, and GRE scores. We use all of these. We use GPA, GRE, recommendations, writing sample, all of them. I know a lot of students are nervous about the GRE, and we do look at it, but it's really only one of the metrics we use. Letters of recommendation, I find, have been very helpful. What we're really looking for is to see if you have the, what it takes to succeed in the program. And even if we're not certain and you're not certain whether you would be a good fit, we often admit students to come in, take a class, and try it out. And after that class, they can see by how well they do, how well they like it, and whether the faculty member recommends them. So I'll be glad to talk more, as will, of course, the Office of Grad Admissions about that. The program itself has 3 different tracks. I'm going to go through each track individually, but I want to start out right from the start to say that you don't have to worry about this right from the beginning. You don't have to choose a track before you come in. Everybody takes a lot of the same range of courses. So I'm going to go through specifically the types of courses we offer, and then the different options in terms of the thesis, the examination, or the applied historical studies or public history track. And I'm not going to sit on this slide for too long because I'm going to come back to it and you'll be able to look at it on your own time. So I want to start with the courses that we offer. The introductory course that all students take, preferably in their very first semester, is called Historical Thinking. And this really introduces students to how historians think and how we think differently. And even students who have been majored in history as undergrads find this to be sort of eye-opening. It's actually a really fun course, and it really introduces students to how historians engage in research and scholarship, but in particular in conversation with each other through historiography, through publications and reviews, and the different kinds of theories and methodologies that historians use. So this students come to get a sense of what it takes to be a grad student in history and to work with other students who are also at this first stage of the program. Students in the thesis and the examination track will take at least one global history seminar. We offer one of them usually every semester, at least one, and anybody is welcome to take these, and you're welcome to take more than one. And they're usually thematic and with a focus on, generally depending on what the professor's area of expertise or current research interest is. So they're not necessarily overall histories of all empires or all wars and revolutions, but different ways to introduce students to different methodologies and theories and different historical events. So while you're here, you would definitely take one of those, or most likely take, and maybe more than one. And it also introduces to the sort of global history perspective that that is sort of central to our program. We offer a range of electives in U.S., European, global history. We have a reading colloquium that we call Major Shifts in the Study of History that we're actually offering right now, taught by 3 professors, an Americanist, a Europeanist, and a specialist in world history. We're offering right now a seminar on World War I, as well as one in women's history, and a range of other different seminars and various topics that we've been offering. These are just a sample from the last few years. And then in the applied and public history track, we offer digital, public, preservation, oral history, and New Jersey history, and so on. And those courses also are open to all students, not just to students in the applied track. So the thesis option is a sort of traditional one, and this is one that students will take the historical thinking, we'll take one of the global history seminars, at least one, as well as 6 electives, and will in the final year spend a year writing a thesis. First in the advanced writing seminar, which is a workshop for all students who are at the stage of writing a final project or a capstone project, and then in the spring semester usually would be doing the thesis research and writing as an independent study with an advisor. And many of the students, the projects come from work that they started in previous classes. And this is useful for anybody who wants it. Many students want to do a thesis, that's why they come. And especially if you want to go on to get a PhD, this is probably the option that you would choose. We created an examination option a few years back, same outline as the thesis track, but with the distinction that you don't write a thesis. You take the reading colloquium, the major shifts in the study of history, and then take a written exam. And this was designed for people who are teaching already and have a wide range of knowledge and are getting the master's degree to sort of increase their knowledge of history and increase their credentials, and are not interested in undertaking a deep research project, but are willing to and ready to write a written exam showing off the breadth of knowledge that they've gained during their grad program. And then the third track is what we call applied historical studies, or otherwise public history. And students here would take History 5000 as well as digital history, public history, and as you can see there, a range of different public history courses. And we offer these on a rotation. Generally about every 3 semesters each of these courses is offered. And the capstone experience would most likely be an internship followed by the writing seminar. And students can do a range of projects, and we really sort of opened up in the applied historical studies track the kinds of projects that students are going to do, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So bringing us back, this is again the overall view of the program itself, and all 3 tracks are 30 credits. We also offer throughout every semester a range of guest speakers and workshops. You can see one right there is one we're having tonight, a guest speaker, an art historian coming in talking about the New Deal murals of Ben Shahn, and you can see a couple of other New Deal era projects that we brought guest speakers in. I offered a course last year in the culture of the Great Depression, and have drawing on a range of local and visiting scholars to come in and speak to our students. And we offer generally every semester a workshop that we call Historians at Work, where we talk about the sort of nuts and bolts. Literally, we did one on the craft of note-taking, right, which seems obvious and easy, but everybody has a different method. And we have a panel of faculty members come in and talk about how they do research, how they take notes, how they write, what the real work practices are, and then students share theirs and get some feedback, and it's you know, sort of a social event as well as a workshop event that we do every semester. We are very mindful that people coming to get a master's degree are here in order to get an education, but also to further their career. So we spend a lot of time working with students about trying to find a place where the master's degree will be of use. Obviously, going on to get a PhD is one place, but there's a range of experiences and job opportunities for students with master's degrees. Some are already teaching and already working in the field, but others are looking to break into the field. So most recently, we have placed students in internships, and these are just a few of them, in some of the local National Park Service national parks. Patterson Great Falls is the one closest, but we've also had students at Morristown and at Edison National Park. And at these places, students have been involved in sometimes in very deep research projects and public history projects. Gathering oral histories, one of our students recently did an oral history project in Patterson. Another did an oral history project in Morristown a couple of years back. And we've had students working with the New Jersey History Day, which we host here on campus every year, which is high school students from around the state coming into middle school and high school students coming in from around the state. Students who've been working all year on history projects, and then the winners go on to the National History Day in Washington, D.C. And we have a student who started working in the Patterson Office of Historic Preservation while a student here and is now currently employed there as well. We pay a lot of attention to how getting our students out, students and their student work displayed. So every spring, you can see here we have our master's research presentations, and we just finished those a couple weeks ago, and 7 of our students who will be completing their work presented their scholarship. And this is a great opportunity for students to present their work to each other, but also to the faculty. And we schedule these presentations early enough in the semester so that the students can get feedback from the faculty and use that feedback in order to improve the finished project of what they're working on. And so we just had that a couple weeks ago, and those students are now busy working to finish their theses by mid-May. One of those right there that you see, Collecting the Past, New Jersey Industrials and Landscape Painting, was actually an exhibition created by one of our applied historical studies students. She was actually the first student in this track, and Kelly Raffel created an exhibition from the William Paterson University permanent collection, and she mounted the exhibition on the walls and created the catalog as well as the panels that went next to the paintings. And then wrote up a historiography as well as an analysis and historical analysis, and also created a website for that project. Kelly, as well as a recent graduate, just participated with me. You can see there was a national conference on the future of graduate history education just last month at Drew University, and I put together a panel with Kelly, who's a recent graduate, Barbara Krasner, who was a current student finishing her thesis on dance marathons in the 1920s and 30s, and Corey Loyola, who was a student here and has gone on to a PhD program. So we put together this panel to discuss the range of opportunities for what the master's degree is, how it's used in the profession. Traditionally, the historical profession has focus much of its postgraduate work on the PhD, and only in the last 5 or so years, now maybe a little longer, the professional organizations have really started to turn their attention to the master's degree and to helping master's degree students fit into the profession. So this conference was a great opportunity to bring scholars from across the country to talk about this, and it was nice to participate with current and former students to talk about how they use their education. So as you can see, Kelly is now employed by the City of Paterson in the Office of Historic Preservation as a preservation specialist, and Corey is a high school teacher but is also in a PhD program in American history. So that's the brief overview, and I want you to take a look at this at your own time, but I'm also opening it up right now for questions, and I'm sure there's things that I've left out, but you should feel free to reach out to me, to email me, check out our website, which has a little bit more information, and I'm going to open it up right now for anybody who's got questions.
Thank you very much, Dewar. And then as we mentioned before, if you do have any questions now, you can just type them into the chat box there. We'll be happy to go over them as they come through. We did have a couple questions that got typed up during the course of the presentation. So I'll just start with the first one and work my way through. One question was about how long it might take your average student to complete the program, and I'm sure that can vary a little bit, but how long is the program intended to take overall?
Great. You can get through any of these tracks really in 2 years if you choose to, and we have students who do that. You can take 15 credits a year. We offer a range of courses in the fall and the spring, and usually we offer one online course in the summer. We don't offer online courses during the regular school year, but in the summer, generally in July and August, we offer a six-week 3-credit course. So you can get, by taking 6 credits in 3, or 6 and 9, you can get through this in 2 years easily. We also have students who will take 1 course a semester. And last year we had a student graduate after 5 years taking 1 course a semester. And she was employed, and that worked out well for her, and she got the education she needed. She earned her degree. So it can be done any way, and I think and we really do have both kinds of students. We have those students who are enrolled full-time, and we have those who are taking 1 class at a time and maybe taking 9 credits a year, so they get out in just over 3 years rather than 5. And either way works, and either way they get involved with the community of students, which is, I think, one of the strongest things. I guess a couple of things that I didn't really mention, just to build on that, is, in my humble opinion, we have an excellent faculty. Most of our departmental faculty teach graduate courses as they are able and as they're needed, and they're really dedicated to the craft of teaching as well as to scholarship. And we have a really excellent group of students who spend a lot of time together, even those ones who are working full-time. I'll tell you, when we just did our master's thesis presentations, I know the students got together 2 weekends in a row to work with each other on their presentations, to give each other hints and support each other. So there's a good camaraderie among the students on campus. I hold a coffee hour every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. and you're all welcome to stop in. And you're also welcome to sit in on a class at any time if you like. Just set it up with me. But we have coffee and cookies every Tuesday at 5, and the students come in and they talk. And sometimes it gets so crowded I have to leave my own office. But it's a nice group and it's a nice experience.
And then one question, earlier in the slide when you were talking about the overall requirements for the program, there's the reference to the 3.0 GPA. If a student falls slightly below a 3.0 and has done very well, particularly within their major with a history background, do you consider applications that might fall slightly below? How do you handle that type of a circumstance?
Yeah, I absolutely will consider. My main goal is to find students who are eager and willing and able to succeed in the program. So the goal with the requirements, our goal is not to exclude people, but to to set a standard for which we think people can succeed, and there's always exceptions. Generally, if you got a 1.5 in college, you're not going to be graduate school experience. But we all know people, we all know experiences that people have different life experiences, and many times people come back later and are ready for graduate school in a way they may not have been earlier. So absolutely, we're looking for students who can succeed. And so I will say that these requirements are basic sort of standards, but we look at the whole student package. The academic letters of recommendations are really important, and especially it's important to get somebody who can evaluate your sort of scholarly potential, not simply somebody who says you're a nice person or even a good worker. Those are good things. We like those, but somebody who can speak to your intellectual and scholarly abilities. And while we're on this, the writing sample is also, ideally, it's a work of historical research, but we know not everybody has that. Something that shows off your intellectual and your scholarly abilities. It could be a book review. It could be a paper that you did as an undergrad for a different major, and we do accept people who come from other majors. That's history major is not a requirement. It may you may have to do a little more work to try to catch up to some of the things that other students will already know. But again, we are flexible, and as I say, I use the admit as a non-matriculated student option fairly regularly, and it's good for us and it's good for the student. We don't want to admit anybody who's not going to succeed and will be frustrated. But we do want students who maybe aren't sure, or maybe we're not sure, to be able to have an opportunity. And essentially, if you come in, you take historical thinking, and you love it, and you do really well, you will have a good letter of recommendation from one William Paterson University history professor. So that's a great opportunity to get admitted if your portfolio at this stage is not as it's not as stellar as you might hope.
And just to elaborate on that a little bit from an admissions standpoint, the non-matriculated option that he mentioned for us would be applying as a non-degree student. It's available in each of our terms. You submit an application, and essentially you are able to take up to 9 credits, which is generally 3 courses, on the graduate level without being formally matriculated into a program. And in some instances, that's allowing a student to get a head start and begin taking courses perhaps before they could take the GRE or another exam that might have a timeline that you have to work with. Or it can also be like the scenario that Dewar mentioned, where you want to really prove yourself to a program director and say, I know I can do this work and I can do it well. I know I'm a good fit for the program. I may not necessarily line up with all of the requirements perfectly, but I want the opportunity to prove that I'm more than capable of pursuing this program and getting my degree. So that's certainly an option as well to keep in mind. And just to keep going with the questions,
let me jump in, Brian, a couple more things on that. The other thing is, if you're a non-degree student, you're not treated any differently from other students. Nobody else knows. It's nobody else's business. So you are a student, a full student in any class. And then one more point about the GRE scores. Do your best. This is my personal advice. Do your best, but don't spend a year and $1,000 preparing for them. Prepare for them, review the sort of how it works, and go and do your best. And I find GRE scores as to be one indicator of a student's ability to succeed, but not even necessarily the most valuable one for me. So don't, again, you want to do well, but you don't stop the application process because of the GRE. Don't let that stop you.
And then one student was interested specifically in the role your program could play for a current high school history teacher. Is the program a good fit? Would it be helpful for somebody who's currently a high school teacher?
Absolutely. And I'd say, I'm not sure what percentage of our students, maybe half of them are high school history teachers. And I think, they love it, and they come in with the knowledge already. But again, the historical thinking starts the groundwork for thinking differently about history, and a lot of that really translates back into the classroom. Now, you may not be assigning 50 or 100-page research papers for your high school students, but the kinds of questions that you ask of the past become different when you work in this program, and they can be taken back into the classroom. So absolutely, you'll get a range of global history subjects, as well as we're always offering local history as well as American history. And many of our teachers still do the other tracks as well, but as I say, we designed the examination option really with teachers in mind. And not all teachers want to do that, that's fine, but sometimes when you're spending all day in the classroom and coming home grading, the ability to get to the archives and to really undertake almost really a year-long research and writing project it doesn't fit with the life you're leading as a school teacher, and it also really doesn't add to what you really want to do. And even in the Applied Historical Studies track, we're looking to help students design some curricular modules for their Applied Historical Studies final capstone projects. So teachers could even do that. And you can see in the Applied Historical Studies track, digital history is something that really everybody should take. And all of our students, not every single one, but all types of students will take digital history when it's offered. And that certainly translates into the classroom because you're using a lot of digital tools in the classroom. And the local and the oral history students, one of the best oral histories I read was done by a middle school, it was a middle school group project. So absolutely the skills as well as the knowledge that you get here, as well as the accreditation, right, will help your teaching career.
And then do any of the graduates of the MA program tend to go on and pursue a PhD in history afterwards? Or another area?
Generally in history, and generally, right now, the two most recent are Corey Loyola is at Drew University, and one of our previous students is at the University of Delaware. This is something that I personally, will have strong opinions on. It's a tough world out there for PhDs right now. And it's why I like running a master's program, because a master's program is one you can get in, you can get your education and get your credits and be done. And sometimes when students are not certain if they want to do an MA, I say don't even think about it, just sign up, and before you even decide, you'll be done. Because it really goes by quickly if you're going full time, and whereas a PhD program does not. And the job market out there for PhDs is really rough in all fields, but especially in the humanities. And so that's my personal opinion. You'll have other professors who will tell you the opposite, which is you should do what you want to do, and I understand that as well. That is, if you have a passion for learning, you should pursue the PhD. But absolutely, this program can help you get the sort of the knowledge and the skills, and also a solid piece of historical research, which helps for the admissions process in PhD programs.
And then one last question. What sorts of projects are students doing as capstones for the applied track that you had mentioned earlier?
Right, so I talked about the exhibit that Kelly did, and we had a student doing a cultural resource management guide for a neighborhood in the city of Paterson. And we also, in the master's research presentations here this last month, one of our students did a public history project on the Confederate flag in public history and memory. And so she created a website, but it was based upon a survey of how museums have treated the Confederate flag and the controversy over the Confederate flag. And in particular, she looked at two different museums, one sort of more pro-Confederate and one national, and how they treated the flag. So, and that was a fascinating project where she placed this context within this controversy within the context of how public history and museums in particular treat controversial objects and treat controversial topics. So those are some of the more recent ones, and this applied track is only a few years old. We revised the curriculum a few years back and the whole structure of the program to try to open up, and we're really encouraging students, even those who want to do research. We see the applied track as sort of as a way for people who are interested in all types of history to create different creative projects. We're looking at digital projects. We're looking at curriculum modules. We're looking at, I want somebody to come to me with some kind of project that I would never think of and suggest it to me, and then so that's the kind of creative work we're looking at, people using GIS or mapping, statistics, all sorts of things. And as I say, we offer this range of courses that within your time here, pretty much guaranteed that these will all be offered. And you as well will be free to take other electives and to work on digital projects in other courses if that's your interest, to work on public history projects in other courses. And as I say, students who are doing the thesis option will also likely be taking some of these other, the so-called applied courses. These tracks are laid out separately on the screen here, but they're really not segregated in the program. All the students really are in a lot of the classes together.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Obviously, that was wonderful and very informative for all of our students that took the time out of their schedule to join us. I certainly hope that this was of benefit to you. I can't stress enough, if you have any colleagues or others that you think might have benefited from taking part in this presentation, we are going to be following up and making sure that you get a copy of it from our YouTube channel. Feel free to share it around, refer back to it. I know there's been a lot of information, and sometimes it's nice to be able to go back, click through if you joined us a little bit late, to catch up on some of the slides that you might have missed. As I mentioned before, if you look right under the handouts tab there on the GoToWebinar screen, you're able to download this PowerPoint presentation in its entirety for that same purpose. And then, as I mentioned earlier, and I can't stress this enough, if you haven't had the opportunity yet, I would encourage you to take some time to come and visit our campus, either for a more formal visit, take part in an open house or another event that we have here on campus, or the opportunity to stop by the Graduate Admissions Office. We're located in Morrison Hall, and our hours Monday through Friday are 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. We're here if you have questions about the application process, if you have questions about this or any other of our graduate programs. I know, not to speak for Dewar, but I know he'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you, to set up a time to meet, and he's always there at our open houses. So hopefully you'll have the chance to meet him in person if you haven't already. And otherwise, for all of us here in the Graduate Admissions Office, I want to thank you so much again for joining us for our webinar. Dewar, thank you so much. The presentation was wonderful. And otherwise, we hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us.